Okay, so we're here this morning with John McClelland. So thank you very much, John, for joining me. It's a pleasure to speak to you and find out a little bit more about your business. And obviously, you are a customer of Landlord Smart, and we'll be talking about why you've used us and what you found useful in using us, as well as finding out a little bit more about you and what your business does. So tell me, your business is called Helga's Homes.
Yeah.
And where are you based, John? Where is your business actually based?
We're based down in Camberley. Farnborough Airport might mean something to some people.
Okay, so what is the strategy that you're actually doing?
Well, in this area, we're doing rent-to-rent SA service apartments.
Okay, brilliant. Is that working well with the airport being local?
Well, now that COVID has sort of settled down, things are getting back to normal. We are seeing huge demand. We're getting phone calls from other operators saying, have you any availability?
Excellent.
So it's good to see that things are getting back to normal.
Yeah, it's been a strange time for everybody, hasn't it? And in particular, the serviced accommodation sector, I think, was hit so heavily by COVID. And it's good to hear that things are coming back for you now, though.
They are, yeah. So we, I don't know when so before COVID, we had an apartment over in Bracknell, quite a nice plush 2-bed place that would have been nice for families going to Ascot, Windsor, Legoland, that sort of thing.
Yes.
Executive types going to businesses in that area, so on and so forth. And that was all set up. We're getting bookings through, and we were starting to get going. And then COVID, March 14th, 15th, 16th, I was sitting in a property training event and getting cancellations through.
Oh no.
So as were everyone else, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, people just couldn't be sure whether they could travel or not. So that was fun times. And I think once the construction guys were allowed back out, we started seeing more of those sort of guys getting back to work, and they wanted the
Right.
That helped us tick along a little bit. So that was fine. But in the end, and that apartment was furnished with I think Fusion furniture, and we went through you guys to lease that
Okay.
stuff.
Brilliant.
So I unfortunately had to shut that one down in the end, because it was just not quite working for the clientele we now try and concentrate are sort of like, hopefully COVID proof, next pandemic proof.
Yes.
Construction guys who will hopefully be allowed to continue working and traveling and so on, even if the rest of the country is locked down, which I really hope doesn't happen again. But we'll have to see. I think we're all looking at staycationing and that sort of thing now, which is maybe even boom times maybe. So we're concentrating over here now in Farnborough Airport direction, where we're a bit closer there anyway. And our apartment, we only had another apartment over here, which has been ticking along all through COVID fine. It's a smaller place, and it gets booked up. It gets booked up, no problem. We almost had, I mean, 95, 100% bookings all along through into November.
So COVID has really made you look at the business model that you were using and thinking who your customers are going to be, because it's so important, isn't it? Within any property strategy, you've got to know who your customer is going to be to know that it's going to work. And obviously COVID, nobody expected that was ever going to get thrown into the mix, but now that it has been, it seems like you said, right, okay, that's not going to work, but now we're going to focus on this sector because we know that that did work even through the COVID time. And contractors and the market of contractors, I suppose it's all about being the right place where those contractors come to stay, and rather than them staying in hotels, staying in your Airbnbs instead. So has that affected the way that you have furnished those properties? Have you had to think about, having, like the Ziploc beds and that sort of thing instead?
Not really. It's interesting though. The place we had over in Bracknell, which was a bit fancier, it was all, like Super King. Well, it was zip and link beds.
Yes.
And as newbies to the whole thing, we were trying to accommodate for all types. So we could, people could choose to have them join together, or there was a couple staying there, and then in the other room could have a couple of beds for the kids. And after a bit of a chat with other SA operators who are very experienced in this sort of thing, they said, just try leaving the beds all as 4 singles. So two singles in each room. That means your laundry is going to be simpler. You don't have to have, because we get Stolbridge linen, which I highly recommend, really. But it just simplifies the storage of all of the linen, because having to have a bunch of Super Kings and singles and doubles and everything is quite complicated. Yes. So, and you know what? We didn't get any complaints from anyone. We just, it was kind of like Scandinavian. Apparently you have a duvet each. And
yes.
So we had no complaints. On the other place, it is 2 single beds in a small apartment. So that's what we do. But yeah, I think when it comes to contractors, I think what they want is they don't want to sort of they'll maybe for 1 week share a room with the mate Dave, who's snoring in the bed beside them.
Yeah.
But they won't do it for more than a week, really. They want a room each, and they want to maybe share a bathroom. That's fine, but they don't want to share a room with Dave for too long.
Yeah.
So in that case, I think single beds are fine. Depending on the size of rooms, you might go for double beds, but at least it'll be a fixed set of laundry per room, not be messing about unzipping beds, rezipping beds, that kind of thing.
It's a very interesting point, and interesting that you said, as a newbie. So how long have you been actually doing this?
December 19 was our first one, in Bracknell. January 2020 was our second one over here.
Okay.
And, I had every intention of doing 1 a month for all of 2020. And that was
obviously COVID stopped that happening.
It did for me. I've seen other guys who are like amazingly cracked on through COVID and did amazing things through COVID. So they really,
So is your plan now to ramp things up again for your business?
Yeah, totally. We're actively looking for 2-bed apartments, 3-bed houses, 4-bed houses to set up as a service department, primarily for the contractor demand. And there is that demand there. I mean, if I can't fill it directly, I've got lots of other people who will.
Yes.
I can contact me. We're all sort of, have you got a bit of, a weekend here, a weekend there, or a week here, a week there?
Yeah.
So this is all, unfortunately not what I am looking for. I mean, I've also had guys who've stayed in our 1 bed and they've kind of, they've had a little share, but they said they'd really like a bigger place when there's more of them and they're staying longer. They would happily book it out. So
you've really identified a market where the demand is obviously quite huge.
Yeah, I mean, in our area, like this is Farnborough Airport. It's not the sunny seaside. So if I was living at this near the sea, I'd be looking at holiday lets and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But for me, we do get friends and family visiting for weeks, or we get people isolating was one of the ones through COVID.
Right.
So we get people who are moving house and they need somewhere to stay for a few weeks. We've had all sorts of people, really. And as newbies, we even allowed one party. So we learned from that. Got off lightly.
Yes.
We don't do any more one-nighters, especially, it's a tricky one, but we're also very good at, really checking the background of the guests, getting their ID and getting their damage deposit and all that stuff.
Can you imagine?
If we're doing
important.
Yeah, very. Yeah, we really don't want any bad guests. If the return customers, will we leave the damage deposit? Usually, we'll take the risk. But if we know they're well behaved, we're fine.
Well, it sounds like you've definitely identified a good model, and well done for keeping going through the COVID time, because it's been hard for a lot of people. It has been
hard, and shutting that one down was a very hard decision. Most of us wanted to just struggle through.
Yeah.
But we were getting bookings, and we could have trundled along and kept our head above water. But there was other reasons we didn't like about the Bracknell one.
Yeah.
Don't want to go into, but it was the place we were renting was making parking very difficult, and it's just
right.
It was like, right, that's it. That's the last straw. We're not. We're not staying here.
Very interesting listening to you talking about it, because I'm sure people that do listen to this when it goes out to the big wide world will be quite interested, especially if they are thinking about serviced accommodation. And a lot of the things that you've said, I think, have been very useful, because trying to accommodate everybody, and the laundry issues, like you've said, knowing your customer, who it's going to be, and the making sure you check people thoroughly. I mean, they're all excellent pointers for anybody that was thinking about getting into serviced accommodation. But it's good to hear that you're going to be ramping things up. So let me ask you, what made you decide to use Landlord Smart? So you mentioned that you used Fusion, I think, didn't you? Fusion Furniture Solutions, which is one of our approved suppliers. Had you identified your supplier and then come to us, or did you come to us and then identify the supplier?
No, I heard about Fusion first. They're very well known, aren't they, in the SA business, really? So I went to them, and they, I think, offered do you want to pay all up front, or do you want to? I think I did pay up front in the first place, and then they said, oh, by the way, you have the option of leasing this through Landlord Smart if you want. Now I know that might just help with cash flow rather than help the big outlay at the front. So yeah, that's the main reason. I think most of your customers will say it's cash flow. They want to retain as much funds for the next deal. So I'm doing rent to rent, so that sometimes maybe some includes a deposit and initial rent and whatever you can negotiate. Now, if you can negotiate no deposit and no initial rent, well done. But at the moment, demand for rental apartments is just crazy. It's it's like I'm getting gazumped basically by normal ASTers just wanting an apartment, and it's like, well, it's good that the economy and things are moving again, but trying to negotiate with agents and landlords to convince them that renting out to a service apartment company is a good idea is a tricky thing at the moment, because if a landlord gets a normal AST, they go, oh, that's fine, as long as the rent's paid, I don't care. I don't know about that. What's the service department thing? I don't know. We don't like that. So I don't have much trouble convincing the agents. It's getting the agents to then, on your behalf, convince the landlords.
Right. Okay. So is your strategy going through a lot of agents to get these landlords? You're not finding them?
Well, I'm quite a fan of on the market, but unfortunately, that's just littered with agents advertising stuff.
Yes.
You do get some open rent ones, or even then agents. I have had a few chats with sort of direct to landlords through open rent and stuff like that.
Yes.
So I think I'm going to be ramping up my Gumtree searches and that sort of thing to try and get direct to landlord, because it's if you can have that direct conversation with them and tell them the benefits, of going through a company. I don't think there are any downsides to going to a well-run service department company like who've shown a track history. The problem I had was my first one or two, but now we've got a few. We've shown examples of what we can do. We can even do light refurbs. And again, as newbies, we took on one that was a bit more than a light refurb, and we just had to bite the bullet and deal with it and get it ready and rent it. But at least now I go in with my eyes open as to what exactly needs doing, how much it's going to cost, negotiate with the landlord whether he's okay with us doing that, whether he'd like to contribute
they
to
can
that.
contribute to some of the funding of that as well, so that you can get it up and running. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because the rent to rent world is definitely, it can be one of the most difficult things, can be getting hold of those landlords. And you've mentioned a couple of things there with the open rent, because obviously open rent, they might be on the market through open rent, but actually it's generally the landlord that you get to meet, isn't it, if you go and see the property, rather than an agent as such. And also you mentioned Gumtree, which I know from my own experiences, I actually got hold of a lease option through Gumtree. I did a rent to rent on it, so similar to yourselves, I did HMO rather than the serviced accommodation model, but similar scenario, and it was all about finding somebody that was in that desperate need, because it's them needing to have a solution and you being able to provide the solution. And like you say, if you're a business that is running it well and you know what you're doing, and that's not the case when you do your first one, obviously that's always the hardest, isn't it? But moving forward, it gets easier as you get more and more on board.
There's a lot of things they don't tell you on the training courses.
Yes. Well, they can't show you the real life, can they?
No, I think my training course I've probably already put people off doing SIM at this stage. There's a lot of downfalls, but you got to. You can only live and learn and get better at it. So
absolutely, and you only get better by doing. And we all make mistakes, and like you said about the spending too much on a property that you take on, really does impact how quickly you're starting to make profit out of it, doesn't it? But it's I mean, you've just got to keep going. That's what I say within the world of property, and that's part of the reason that Landlord Smart came about, because the rent-to-rent industry is something where people generally haven't got the cash to invest in the property assets as such. So they generally don't have a lot of disposable cash. So that was the biggest thing for you, I can imagine, to go, right, okay, now I don't need that 3K or whatever it was that you spent to furnish that project.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, it's all about, snowballing to the next one and the next one and the next one. So it's bad enough that you've got a deposit sometimes held up in a property, and okay, some guys can negotiate no deposit, but as newbies, it's a very difficult thing to do that and demand that. And I think it's, you've got to kind of sort of meet the landlord halfway, and paying the deposit is a good sign of that you're going halfway at least. And so because of that, you've got that tied up for a year, 2, 3 years, so you never see that deposit until the very end. So every little helps to keep your cash flow going. And even if you could afford a 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 pound house around these parts and make it into an SA, that's an awful lot of money to tie up, and until you've refinanced maybe. But for me, I'm doing my buying projects up north and stuff, and the rent to rent SA down here,
yeah,
is something that I can actively do on the ground down here. Whereas it would take a lot more funds down here to just do it. Like, I couldn't even get the numbers really to stack up for a normal buy to let down here.
yeah.
The ROI,
Yeah.
it's just
Because of the buying prices, you mean?
yeah, the ratio of rent to price of property down here,
Yeah,
even an HMO room, is, you know, tricky on the ROI. Whereas you can buy 4 or 5 houses up north and get 500 quid a month rent, and the ROI is
yes.
15-20%, whatever.
Hence the
So,
reason that a lot of people buy up north, don't they? So, I mean, it
yeah.
sounds like you are from up north somewhere anyway yourself, John. So you obviously know somewhere up there.
Up north and over a bit, Northern Ireland, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I mean, yeah, you can do the capital appreciation of buying an expensive house and so on, but at the moment I've been looking at, like, as my active thing. So my property projects up north are kind of being run by other chaps who source, refurb, and let out houses up north.
Excellent.
And so I haven't even been to my buy to let on my HMO, actually. I've never been there. Just
Well, that's I think there's a lot of people out there that do that, where it is like that, totally hands-free. If you've got a good team involved, again, it's not necessarily what you know, it's who you know, isn't it? To actually have somebody that can find the right property, do any conversion or refurbishment works that you want doing. So it sounds like you've got a good team in place, which is brilliant.
yeah, very good.
So we just want you to come back to Landlord Smart next time you get your service accommodation unit up and running.
I know that it will be, yeah. I'll be obviously having to refurb or furnish each of them, so I'll be having a look and seeing. I mean, I think I'll probably have to get an up-to-date list of suppliers from you, because that keeps changing, I'm sure. You've got,
yes,
it's not just furniture, you guys, it's electrical goods and all sorts, I think, so.
Absolutely, yes. So you know, that's one of the incentives for people using us as well, that it's literally everything in a service accommodation unit, from the bigger furniture items right down to the teaspoons in your kitchen type of thing, all the electricals and that sort of thing as well. So the suppliers that we work with do a really good job, and I know that you've chosen Fusion. It was that because they are a very well-known company within the industry. What made you choose them?
I think from my first one, I just went, I'm going to go with Fusion, because that's what I hear about a lot.
Yes.
And they were very good. I'm happy with them. It was, you know, pretty good stuff. You know, pretty solid and so on.
They do some good guarantees. They provide a good service, and that's what it's all about, because you want to get things up and running as quickly as you possibly can. And obviously with Landlord Smart, not having to do it without using your own money.
Yeah. And even when I did, I actually had paid for it, and they just, you know, you guys just reject the finance on it. So
okay, so that's interesting, because that's another thing that some people might not be aware that we do, which is you know, if you need something pretty quickly, then you can pay for it, and the supplier will then refund you once you've actually had the finance approved and everything's in place. So that's another good solution for people if they want to move quite quickly, rather than waiting for the finance to happen.
yeah, you can just go ahead and pay Fusion and then worry about the finance later. Although the second one I did, the finance was really quick anyway. So
yeah, but I mean, once we know you, we can generally get it.
That's maybe it. The second one was easier. Yeah, that was it. So yeah, no, it's pretty good.
It's really good to learn a lot more about you and your business, and what what impact it's had on your business as well, because there will be a lot of people out there that have been severely impacted by COVID. And, if anything, that's a plus for us on the fact that, if their cash flow has been really hit, then they're more likely to use us going forward, because they haven't got the cash there to invest in the next project that they want to now get up and running, now that things have really started to move again. So thank you very much, John, for taking the time to talk to me. I know that we will be getting the information about how people can contact you. Are you, with regard to them being able to make contact, I'm sure you'd be more than happy to help them if they've got questions around doing SA, as well as from attracting potential landlords, and also people that know you're in that area, if they've got anybody and they can't accommodate them, and they can send them to you as well. So.
Yeah, I mean, if you're needing like accommodation, if I can't help you, I've got a fair few contacts who I can reach out to and see if they have. Yeah, so if you just Google Helga's Homes, which is Helga's Homes,
okay,
you'll stumble across our website, or probably find us on Facebook as well. We've got our apartment on there. I'm not the best at Facebook marketing, to be quite honest. it's there and you can find it, but
well, at least it's there, and I'm sure if somebody messaged you, then you'd be able to pick that up if they wanted to ask anything about your business.
Yeah, we do get direct bookings through our website, because people just stumble across, you can see it, and you can, or you'll find us on, I don't know if you can search for Airbnb on or Helga's Homes on Airbnb, but you'll stumble across us on there. It's listed on there.
Well, we'll make sure that we put all your contact information out when we share this on our social media, so people will be able to listen to you and get to know you a little bit more. So thank you very much for your time, John, and I look forward to sharing this with the Landlord Smart audience and even wider, and obviously you can share it with your own audience too. Thank you very much.
All right, all the best. See you again.
Thank you. Bye.